Ugh. Hey guys, today's video once again brings us down here into the library because, believe it or not, yes, I am actually on time with this. We have May reviews. Yeah, I can't believe it either. You guys know, usually I'm a month, sometimes 2 months behind on these reviews, but yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take a look at everything I watched last month. I cannot believe it. So yeah, the pile, not very big. It's a very small little pile of watched movies, and that's mainly, again, because of The Purge, and my schedule is so crazy off right now. I have to really get focused and back on track, and now that The Purge is mostly done, just, again, a lot of stuff I gotta put away. Other than that, it's pretty much everything's where I want it to be and moved around and settled, and a lot of little things have been done, and I'm like really in the home stretch. I'm like 95% done The Purge. I can kind of get back on track now. So hopefully I'll be watching more movies and going out hunting during the week more and just all kinds of stuff like that. I'll be back onto like a normal sort of schedule. Wish me luck with that. It might take me a little while to get back into the groove of things, but yeah, hopefully next month's pile will be at least a little bit bigger, because this is sad. For somebody who used to watch a movie every single day, to only watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 titles in 1 month is really, really bad for me. So anyway, let's see what it is I did check out, again, in the month of May. So first thing was Elvis and Nixon. This was really good. Michael Shannon was a fantastic Elvis, and Kevin Spacey was a great Nixon. Johnny Knoxville is in this too, which is great because honestly, I love Johnny Knoxville. I hate that we don't really see him anymore. He really doesn't pop up in movies too often. Maybe here and there, but for the most part, you just don't see him that much. And it's a shame, because I thought he was a decent actor. I liked him. I don't know. I'm just a Johnny Knoxville fan. So when he popped up in this, I didn't even realize at first he was in this. And when I'm watching it and he pops up, I was very pleasantly surprised. And this was a fun movie all about Elvis wanting to meet Nixon and become this like undercover agents within the government. I guess it was gonna be like a special. I guess I don't know. He wanted a badge. He wanted a badge. That was it. He wanted like an official government badge. That's all he wanted. He really didn't seem to care all that much about being like some undercover agent and getting the special title, like just for him, to help infiltrate, the younger generation and drugs and whatnot. He just basically wanted a badge. Like, he wanted to be an official undercover agent. So really funny to watch him meet Nixon, because like, Nixon wanted nothing to do with it, and Elvis had a hard time getting in. And I love how like Elvis or Nixon kind of like actually sort of kind of like Nixon, like Nixon started to kind of like Elvis and whatnot, but then Elvis was just weird and kind of did his own thing. Basically, like, Elvis was, I mean, he's the king of rock and roll. He was kind of like a king. It's like royalty meeting the president, and they both had their quirks. There were things that, when you meet the president, you got to do this. But Elvis's people like, well, when you meet Elvis, you got to do this. And Elvis just kind of did what he wanted. Even though they were like, Elvis, you got to do this, and this. When you meet the president, he walked into the office and just sort of did what he wanted. I liked that. That was very funny. So I enjoyed this movie. I liked everybody in it. I thought it was done very well. It's a really good story. It's an interesting story, but it has some really funny moments. There's definitely some like really funny parts. Basically, with just Elvis being a quirky Elvis. I loved it. So I would recommend this one. It was fun. Definitely check out Elvis and Nixon. Fun movie. Then I watched Hot Pursuit. Now, I went into this expecting nothing, and a lot of times when I go into a movie expecting nothing, I'm pleasantly surprised with at least a somewhat decent movie. No. No. This movie just felt like, why? It's such a waste of energy. No, it's this woman who's like in protective custody, and people are out to kill her, and some like no name beat cop is put in charge of basically protecting her, but at the same time she's not really put in charge, and she's kind of doing it just because it's her duty as a police officer, and people are trying to kill them, and there's twists and blah blah blah, and it just felt so mediocre. I don't believe I laughed at all during this. No, I don't think I did. And honestly, I mean, I really like Reese Witherspoon. I tend to really enjoy her movies, but I don't know. This one was just, it was just bad. It was pointless. I would not recommend this one. I wouldn't even say, just give it a watch. Why not? No, I'm going to say this is one you don't need to see because it did not amount to anything. This is not a movie that's going to be remembered. This is a movie I've seen once and I will never watch again. It's extremely forgettable. Who wrote this? Oh my gosh, let's see. Written by David Fenney and John Quinancy, if I'm saying that right. Did they ever do anything worthwhile? Because this really feels like they were like, I don't know, we got 5 minutes, let's put something down on paper. It just felt that mediocre and that boring and that flat, and just don't watch Hot Pursuit. So next up was a better movie, Vice. Although I'll be honest, I wasn't blown away by this one. I know it was nominated for a bunch of awards and whatnot. Did it win any? Let's see, the best one of the year, no. Nominated for 8 Academy Awards. I guess it was just nominated, didn't win anything. I'm not sure. Regardless, it wasn't bad. It was an enjoyable film. I would recommend this one. I would say, yes, definitely watch it. I might even sit down and rewatch this one at some point. But no time in the near future. I wasn't blown away by it. I just thought it was okay. All about Dick Cheney. But I was trying to think of why this movie didn't really excite me very much, because it wasn't bad. It was told well. It was enjoyable. And I started to think maybe it's because the Bush Jr. Presidency was kind of like the first ever real celebritized, if you will, presidency in as far as the internet is concerned. Whereas presidents before them, I mean, yeah, the internet was around and there was some stuff about them, I'm sure, on the internet. But I mean, when Bush got in office, the internet was really just exploding at that point. I remember that time. Everything was just up and coming. I mean, the internet was this thing that you did some stuff on here and there. And around when Bush was elected, it seemed like the internet it was in everybody's hands. Everybody was on the internet. It wasn't just chat rooms and AOL. It was a big thing. It was up and coming at that point. I thought it was that's really when the internet sort of kind of took off and sort of became the horrible mess it is now, where it's just a bunch of people complaining about stuff all the time. Yay. So I really feel that the Bush presidency was a first presidency that everything was just widely talked about and scrutinized like it is nowadays on the internet. And because of that, I kind of knew a lot of what I saw in here. It wasn't like I was like, oh wow, that happened, and oh, I didn't know that, and oh gee, this. I really felt like a lot of this I was already well aware of, and I knew the story behind it, and I knew what happened. I knew what was gonna happen when they were setting stuff up. So I kind of I kind of knew what I was sort of getting into with this one, and it just didn't feel like anything overly new that I was learning. But with that being said, I did not know everything. There were things that happened in this movie that I was like, I was not aware that happened. Okay, that's interesting. I learned something new. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie, worth checking out. It's just for some reason in the end, I wasn't blown away by it. After I watched it, I went, okay, that was enjoyable. I liked it, but I wasn't left wow, that was amazing. I just kind of thought it was all right. It was decent. So I would recommend checking it out. It was a good movie. It is worth a watch. But I don't know, nothing that really just blew me out of the water. Just kind of decent, a good one. However, this movie I loved, Green Book. This was awesome. All about an Italian New Yorker, very, very strong in his Italian uprisings, having to escort I don't want to give too much away, we'll just say a black man through the South. And of course, when this time period was going on, not that, again, much has changed these days, but with racism being as rampant as it was, and the Green Book being a book showing you basically where you were allowed to stay if you were a black man traveling through the South, because there were a lot of places you could not go, unfortunately. It's a really interesting story that shows racism at the time, and shows these two very different people kind of I don't know what I'm going to say, kind of teaching each other, if you will, because our black man here going through the South, he is very cultured and very sophisticated, and of course, he's been dealing with racism his whole life, so he's got that. And then our kind of a little bit more sort of privileged Italian guy here, who is very strong in his upbringings, and there's definitely some racism within him as well. Again, they're all sort of just learning off each other. It's basically two sort of polar opposites coming together, and in the end, kind of coming to terms with each other, and learning things about each other they were not aware of, and coming to appreciate each other. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a new story. I mean, what I just described is something we've certainly heard before, or at least I've heard before. Nothing really new there, but it was told very well. It was a very enjoyable story. I really did like this one. I would definitely recommend Green Book. It was a really fun watch. Great movie. Next title is, unfortunately, featuring more blatant racism. The Nazi Officer's Wife, an A&E documentary all about Edith Hahn, who was a Jew during Nazi-occupied Germany, and the way she basically got away with not having to go to a concentration camp. She was actually married to a German Nazi officer, which is really interesting. So obviously that makes for a very compelling and very interesting story about this woman's life, and her dealing with living during this time and being married to a Nazi who was very much against Jews, and it was definitely very racist in his ways, and really interesting one. Don't want to get into this one too much, don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but yeah, this is definitely one we're checking out if you're into documentaries, especially when it comes to World War II documentaries. This is one to see. I always love a good documentary that features something different. I mean, I've seen so many World War II documentaries, and every now and then I find one that's about a little pocket of World War II. That's not just about the war, but about maybe one person's interesting journey through that war, and that's definitely what this is. So yeah, The Nazi Officer's Wife. Check this one out. Great A&E documentary. Then I was in the mood for some David Spade. So, hey, what did I watch? Tommy Boy, something like that, right? No, I decided to pop in his first ever movie, Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. Why? I don't know. Probably because I have recently re-listened to the David Spade audiobook, and he does talk about this movie, so maybe that's what got me in the mood for it, I don't know. But I love the Police Academy movies. I gotta get that Blu-ray release. I think it's a European Blu-ray release, region-free, with like all the movies. I gotta pick that up. But I love these. They just get progressively cheesier and cheesier. 4's pretty darn cheesy. I mean, they're at this point hiring citizens off the streets to join in the Citizens on Patrol, the cop program, to help fight crime, which is how, of course, David Spade comes to be. He's a skateboarding punk. He actually could skateboard, although to do all the tricks, I believe that it was actually Tony Hawk, if I'm not mistaken, who actually performed all his tricks and whatnot, which is interesting. They got like the Bones Brigade to do all the big skateboarding stunts, but still very awesome. I love these movies. They're cheesy, they are ridiculous. ridiculous, but oh my gosh, they are so much fun. After watching this one, I was kind of bummed that I just jumped in the 4. Since I haven't watched these in a long time, I really should have just said, heck with it. Maybe I should just marathon them all. It's been a while, and to be honest, I might end up doing that soon. I mean, I just watched 4, so I'll probably skip that one. But I might watch 1, 2, 3, and then 5 and on, because it's just been a while. And I hear there's rumors about the possibility of a new police academy. Yeah, I hope to God, I want some more goot. So we'll see. So awesome. Great movie. Then a documentary that was interesting, but at the same time, how long is this? It felt really quick. Only 100 minutes. So, well, that's over an hour and a half. I don't know. We have XXL, the John Holmes story, all about the porn star, John Holmes. And if there's something you, or if you don't know who this is, well, there's a reason why XXXL. Yeah. I mean, ridiculous. Even as a straight man, I was like, wow, that's impressive. It's crazy. So this is a really interesting documentary about this guy who became this like household name because of a certain size of a part of him, and how he became this big famous porn star, and his decline, and everything from drug use to really interesting. He probably murdered somebody to eventually, unfortunately, him contracting HIV and AIDS and dying. It's a really interesting story. I really did enjoy this one. Man, I don't know. It just felt like it flew by, though. It says it's 100 minutes, but I thought that I could swear this was like only an hour long. It felt so quick. Maybe that's a good thing, though. I don't know. Again, it didn't blow me away. I think it was just the way the story was told, maybe. It just, maybe it wasn't shot all that amazingly well. Maybe it could have been edited better or something like that, but still, it was an interesting story. I would recommend this one if you're into documentaries, as I am. This is definitely one worth checking out, worth seeing. And a very interesting story. Again, did not blow me away as far as documentaries are concerned, but it still was a good story, and I really enjoyed learning about John Holmes. I knew who he was. I had certainly heard of John Holmes, but I had never really looked into his life before. I mean, why would I have? Yeah, learning about him in this documentary, very cool. Yeah, definitely recommend checking that one out. Again, very interesting. And then, oh my gosh, this is a movie finishing up May. I know, that's it, 8 titles. What the heck? Finishing up May here, a movie I really wanted to see. I have heard nothing but great things about it, and I was so happy to finally watch it. Fighting with My Family, a movie all about the wrestler Paige, and I knew nothing about Paige. Again, when it comes to modern day wrestling, or when I say modern day, I pretty much mean anything from like the kind of early 90s on, because I really only watched wrestling from like late 80s to like very, very, very early 90s, like 91, 92, maybe 93. Once the whole, again, Attitude Era and like wrestling kind of really sort of take off and get really, 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 really big again. At that point, I had gotten out of wrestling. I wasn't really into it. 80s wrestling was my thing. So Paige, I had never even heard of Paige. I had no idea who Paige was. She was completely new to me. I mean, I know who The Rock is. That's about it. So this was a really interesting story. I don't know how actual truthful it is. I'm hoping it's not too Hollywood, but her kind of like sort of accidentally getting into wrestling, but really enjoying it, and then her getting into it more, and her brother was really into it, and they both had the opportunity to audition for the WWF, and kind of went well for one of them anyway. So interesting story about her and her dealing with that. You know, did she want to stay in the WWF? Did she not? You know, could she actually go through with it? She was kind of an outcast. I mean, she was, I wouldn't say heavy set, but you know, she had a little bit more meat on her bone. She was kind of like a normal sized girl, whereas opposed to everybody she was up against to stay into, her competition during her training, and you know, her getting into WWF, or WWE, whatever, was, you know, they were all like these super skinny, big boobed models, you know, all blonde hair. They all look like they're, you know, supermodels from California. She is this, again, like kind of normal sized, smaller, black hair, gothic, pierced, you know, British girl, and didn't really fit in too well. Could she make it? And it's a really interesting story. I like this one. It was a lot of fun. It had some very funny moments, but it had some heartfelt moments. It was a great story. Whether or not this is a lot, you know, very Hollywood, or it's actually true to the story of Paige, again, I don't know, because I really don't know much about Paige. You guys can clue me in. Leave a comment down below. How truthful is the story? How much does it actually stick to the truth, and how much is it Hollywood? I don't know. Let me know. But regardless, it was a well-told story. It was very enjoyable. I'm going to recommend this one. I loved it. So even though, again, I'm not into really modern day wrestling, this was still a good one to watch. I highly recommend this movie. Very fun, very enjoyable. I will watch this one again. And there you go. That's it. That's everything I watched during the month of May. I know. 8 titles. That is sad. So, but anyway, like I said, The Purge, for the most part, is coming to an end. So I'm at the point now where I can start kind of trying to get back into the swing of things and getting my schedule back on track, although my wife's work hours are changing, so my schedule is probably going to be changing. We'll figure it out. I don't know. Either way, I want to get back on a schedule. It might not be the same schedule that I used to have, but I need to get back on a schedule so my life is more together and I can get things done and watch more movies and not go crazy and shoot more hunting videos for you guys. You know, all kinds of stuff I want to do for you. So stay tuned for all that, guys. But anyway, with that, I am done. So, as always, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to see a brand new video from me every single day, hit that subscribe button and you're going to get one. And also be sure to check down below for links to Patreon, Spreadshirt, and the Cinema Sickness Retro Store. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.
Show